What is up, guys? This is Fonzarelli Fell-Handed, and this is going to be Fjords map tactics. Now, we're doing some live commentary here, which, you know, is not necessarily one of my things. I kind of enjoy, you know, kind of going back for it so I can, you know, modify it as I will. But anyway, we're going to have a go at it here. Now, I will show you how the map should be played. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that's how it's going to be played. It doesn't mean that, you know, you're going to have a lemming train, you know, run down the 3-line across the horn there and just plow right into the bad guys. But this is going to be how it's supposed to be played. Okay, so starting off, your clickers are always going to be, well, generally they can be somewhere in this area, but they also are going to be over here as well. This is kind of where the clickers are always going to be. Even some more aggressive clickers are going to be down here to my 12 o'clock, a little bit down that way. Now, I'm not going to go down there, but you know, you guys get the idea. That is kind of where the clickers go. Now, everything, guys, if you watched any of my videos, anything, you always know that there is a point and a counterpoint, okay? So, keep in mind, watch this because it's going to be important later. The location where we're going to be is going to be very useful, okay? Your lights, your mediums are going to come up here, okay? If they get lucky, they're going to get some shots through here. More often than not, they're not going to get lucky because this is your push point, okay? Your push point is going to be coming around that horn. Now, however, if I'm on the bad guys team, I take the eastern spawn, and I'm here, you guys got problems because I'm going to be lighting up everything and be getting shots at everything, so on and so forth. So, your lights and your mediums from that spawn are going to be over here. And you may see some heavies, you may see some T-57 heavies. The heavy tanks have been liking this recently simply because it gives you good cover from Artie. But the problem is when you poke this corner, if the clicker posts up down there at J0 on that little peak, he can get you. But anyway, this is going to be one of your primary fights here in the mid. Now, moving on. When we go from the left flank, you are also going to have your traditional left push, which is going to be up this corner. And you're going to have a decent amount of heavies here, you know, tank destroyers, waffles, what have you. There's not a large amount of camping you can have for your tank destroyers, except possibly at C3, offering support at the mid. When things go south, they tend to fall back to the cap. But however, this is where you're going to have some clickers and whatnot. Now, if you look at that line down there to J9, the clickers, some clickers can get up here and hit you. It just depends on the tank. Like the Conqueror, the CGC, for example, could probably hit you. So just keep that in mind. Your light tanks, this is what's going to be happening right here. Your light mediums. You're going to have bad guys here at this 12 o'clock coming up to do the peek-a-boom with your gents that are up there at the corner. So there's going to be a firefight here. You could pull up and get some shots in. But now what you have to be careful is the guy on the line's not going to be paying attention, but the 3 guys behind him waiting to get their turn to shoot are going to be taking shots at you. So just keep that in mind. Now, going back to the western spawn, I can't really say red and green spawn because it will differ depending on which side you... I could use red and green spawn because that's what color it is now. If you're in the green spawn, the primary push on the right is going to be around the horn. Now, you could go down the F line. I've seen horrible things happen to tanks when they go down the F line. I don't personally recommend it for the simple fact that if for some reason... Here's the thing. Artillery is going to fire blind shot down here anyway. I just don't recommend it. There's no cover. This is why you always see folks go around this hill. That's kind of like a death trap right there, especially if you end up having some bad guys around D5 just doing passive scouting early on in the game. It's a good way to get spotted. This is kind of where things are going to happen. This is where your primary push is going to be for your heavies, your crunchy mediums, your crunchy TDs, what have you. Even some of the soft skin stuff. They're going to push through here, use these buildings for cover because the clicker... this is kind of a map where the clickers reign supreme. They can just kind of do some serious work on you. There's not really... I mean, there's going to be pretty much gunfire exchange in the FNG line right through here. And that is more or less that for this particular map. This isn't a simple map where, you know, it's like Mountain Pass where you say, okay, one tank destroyer can hold this, one tank destroyer can hold this, we need some guy guarding the bridge, and then boom, everybody else, you know, goes the 1-2 line. This is not necessarily that straight cut forward. But what you also have to understand is things change, because here's the thing. If you divide your team evenly, okay, you have a push on the right, you have a push on the left, you've got guys in the mid, but they all lemming train the left flank, that flank is screwed and they're going to fall, and the guys in the mid, you know, may get murdered if the lemming train pulls out of its push. So, you know, you may lose 2/3 of your force just like that. So it just depends on how well your team can hold them back, because it's all situational. And like I said, these map tactics, guys, are just a guideline because everything changes. Nothing is going to remain the same. Things may be just completely different. Okay, so you are going to have tank destroyers perched out on this thing. It is a fact. It's always going to happen. You're going to have clickers out here. A lot of folks are going to use this. I hope I can get out here without killing myself. Maybe. Anyway, folks are going to be here. Now, not necessarily right out there. And the simple fact is, when they back up, there's not really any place to go. You know, if they can manage to get down there without dying, then, you know, have at it. But the point is that they want to get these shots. Where am I at? Right here. They're looking for this right here. As you can see there, what is that? 250 meters of uninterrupted firing. So, yeah, they're just going to tee off on you as you push up in a position. And like I said, guys, everything has a point and a counterpoint. You make your push here, your tank destroyers are here. Everything's got a counterpoint. Your clickers are going to be out here somewhere, and if they get here, if they get in a right location, and I mean, I'm sure there's some that you know, even post up on the back of this, they can just tee off almost anywhere on the map. So just something to think about. And the other side isn't bad, but it's as far as clickers go and tank destroyers go, this, in my opinion, is probably the better side, because where your tank destroyers post up on the other side is going to be your C3, C4 area, which is kind of what I was discussing earlier. That way they can fall back to the cap if things go pear-shaped. Okay, so moving on. So, right off the get-go, if we're starting here at the red spawn, the eastern spawn, your lights, mediums, what have you, are going to rush up here. Now, this is kind of a dicey area, okay? And the reason I say it's dicey is you get up here to spot, you get in a position to spot. Now, you can do this, or you can go to the right of me a little bit, but if you go to the right a little bit, there's less cover. I kind of like... The reason I like this is when I back up, I know for sure the mountain is going to cover me 100%, versus if I back up right here, there's only a finite amount of this rock, if you catch my drift. So I like having that cover. It's personal preference. It doesn't really matter. You're going to spot them as they come up. Now, the guys pushing their left are going to be beneath that. So there's not going to be any shots. I know it doesn't look like, it all looks like the same, but it's not. You can kind of tell from that tree right there that that's a lowered area. And they did that by design. So anyway, moving on. What you kind of have to worry about is if the other side does what they're supposed to do, they're going to have some guys right there at E5. If they push you too much, and there have been videos where I've been in a Type 59 right here, and they push me back and back and back and back and back until the guys coming down the F line can fire on me. So sometimes you're going to see tank destroyers kind of in position to fire on the F line just in case they decide, you know, randomly to push the F line. But tanks that push the F line don't normally last that long. Just a heads up. Now, moving on. Left push, obviously, for the heavies, going to come right down through here, right here within the buildings. And a lot of times what they'll do is they will link up with that location I was just at. A lot of tanks in here, or else they'll just go straight here through the city, or the village, I guess you would call it, and try to engage the rightmost push of the green team. Get engaged. And the reason they like that little village is because it's good for clickers to defend against. Now, light medium tanks up on the right flank. This is just how it goes. You may have some heavy tanks, like I said. You know, you may have some 50Bs up here, what have you. I've seen it happen. And you know, you may even have some regular heavy tanks. Now, your light mediums can get up on this thing. Now, granted, you know, it's not to be necessarily overused. You do have to have something with good depression. But you also have to understand when you get spotted, it's pretty much a wrap. But you can spot a great deal from up here. You know, granted, that building is 455 out, and your hard cap is 445. So, you know, do the math. I mean, if somebody's moving and they're kind of in the open, you've got a pretty good shot at spotting them. But is a light tank currently what I'm in, you have to be careful up here because this corner seems to kind of go one of two ways. They either throw a lot of tanks up here or not enough. And as you're working this corner, and the other guys are going to be there, a good maneuver, as I see a lot of folks doing, is just going across here. And that way, when the other gent pulls up to take a shot, you just kind of pop him. And obviously you'd want to go for the tracks because then he would be kind of left to the rest of your team right there. And once again, this all comes back to background. You have to be very cautious, okay? If you're on the flip side of this coin and you've got some folks over here and you know you're in a bat chat, you're in an auto loader, or you just want to come over here in your Remmental Panzer and get some shots in, you know, you always have to consider their background. So if their background is weak, and you have to kind of be there a while to tell if it's weak. And at the same time, if it's early game, you need to start running the numbers. Okay, where did I spot guys? Okay, we spotted 3 heavies, you know, G6. Okay, we spotted this here, this here, this here. So you can kind of make an educated guess roughly about how many are back there. And that's just good tanking. You always want to have an idea what you're walking into, because you know what, if I come in here to roll rugby and I come around the corner and we're fighting it out and there's, you know, an E5 and a 50B back here, I'm screwed. I mean, you know, unless I can just manage to finesse them, but it shouldn't come to that. And you know, it's a different animal versus, okay, rugby's been real annoying this whole game. He's a one shot. Let me pop over the corner here. Even if I take a shot, I can get rid of him because he's a super uni and we need to get him off the map, get him off the board. A lot of things are going to open up in this corner, blah, blah, blah. That's a different animal. I get it. But that's kind of the Fjords in a nutshell, how to run this map, how it should properly be played. Not saying it will be played that way, but how it is properly supposed to be played that way. Yeah, but anyway, guys, that's the map tactics for this bad boy, and we're gonna do Abby right now. We will catch you guys next time. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you later.